And we're back. Hey, listen, hey Thomas, I think they've missed us. We've been gone for
Yeah,
such a long time. For such a
been
long
a
time.
minute.
So, the question on many people's mind is what have we been doing? What have we been
Right.
doing, Thomas? Thomas, I generally know what you've been doing. I think you generally know what I've been doing.
I do.
We're gonna take this opportunity tonight to just hit the highlights,
Yeah,
of what we've been doing, and maybe peek into 2026 really quick,
for sure.
just to show our viewing audience how they can see us. But if for
Yeah,
those of you who don't know me, I'm Dr. Lawrence, and I'm the proud founder and executive director for an organization called A Bridge to Light. We focus on enabling communities to get beyond obstacles that have traditionally hindered their progress, namely to access human needs. But with a particular focus on disrupting the school of prison pipeline and further enabling the reentry of formerly incarcerated persons. And as usual, I'm joined by my brother and friend, your brother and friend, Brother Thomas Cotton.
hey, welcome back, everybody. It's good to see 2026, and it's excited to be back. And I know you guys want to know where we've been. But as Dr. Lawrence said, I'm Thomas Cotton. I'm the founder and CEO of Redemption and Advancement Alliance. I'll tell you a little bit more about our work in the weeks to come because we are shifting our work. And I'm just going to share what it was wrapped around. It's wrapped around gang redevelopment. It's not, something that we're stepping away from the work we've done before. We're just focusing in on something that we think if we can crack this, we can make a significant difference. So stay tuned. We'll talk more about the work that we're doing about gang redevelopment and why that's so important.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Well, Thomas, while you got the floor, man, give us a rundown. What's up, man?
Man, 2025 was highs and lows, and but the highs definitely outweigh the lows. When we start thinking about where we've been and how things have gone, this time last year, a new president was coming in, and people were, unsure what was going to happen with funding. They're unsure about jobs, and we've seen what has happened. A lot of people lost their jobs, whole departments and agencies shut down, and so many other things, and the challenges that puts and the pressure that puts on nonprofit spaces and research and so many other things. We experienced a lot of that, but there's been a lot of highs too. We were welcomed into some different groups. We had a lot of different speaking engagements that we did. We spoke at I can't even name them all, but we were a part of the APHA. We were part of the Criminal Justice Consortium. There's so many other different things I don't want to even go into, but our voice was heard last year a lot. And and the benefit of that is being able to make this shift and people still excited about the work we're doing and even more excited. As I'm sharing with you all, I wrote a book a couple years ago called The New G Mentality. Got to show it to you all, The New
There
G
you go.
Mentality.
That's right.
Yeah. And I've been able to read my own book over and over and over again, and I'm just like it really shocks me because the information that's in this book can be life transforming for many others, for
Wow.
communities, for just development. And so the new G mentality has moved into the new G movement, which is a movement that we're creating around gang redevelopment. And if people don't understand what gang redevelopment is, um, it basically comes from the premise of, you know, let's go back to the 50 years of street gangs in LA, and we start thinking about this 50 years and what has been the way that people have approached these gangs to try to do something about violence and gang activity. Well, it's to dismantle the gang. That's really what people want to do is they want to dismantle these gangs. They want, public safety. They've done everything they can. They've gentrified communities. They've changed lines. They've done a lot, mass incarceration, so many other things. Um, None of that's ever worked. These gangs are still strong today, and now there's a shift in the way we can look at these newer gangs that are happening, these hybrid gangs and these sub-hybrid gangs. And murder just doesn't make sense anymore because there's no rules to it. It's that people, these little kids are getting these guns, they're getting their hands on so many other things, and it's causing havoc within the same communities. Well, we're taking a different approach than dismantling. What if we redevelop and strengthen? And that's the important part. That's the new G mentality. That's the mentality we all have to take on, not just those in gangs, but those of us who want to see communities do better. We have to really take on a new mentality, and that mentality is outlined in the book. But what ends up happening also is now that if we are successful in what we do in redeveloping gangs, and now the gang leaders and the people who are involved with gangs have new opportunities and they become the catalyst for change within their communities, what do those communities begin to look like? And so answering that question is important, but we can all kind of think, what if there were no street gangs or violence was even less in these gang areas? What does that do for the economy in these areas? What does that do for the families? What does that do toward mass incarceration? What is, there's so many other things. So in 2025, we literally went after shifting our whole model of the way we do things to commit the next 50 years, 100 years to redevelopment of gangs. Now, we know it's not going to take that long, but the reality is if we're successful, within 5 years, we can see good fruit. Within 10 years, we can see substantial fruit. And within 20 years, we can see a whole cultural shift. And so it's important to really begin to document this. And so we're not only going after this as providing resource opportunities, but we're really creating, pioneering a new science around this. So we're really into the research side of everything and being able to document what we're doing. And so it's on one hand, it's a whole research project. On another hand, it's a whole community development space. And so the New G movement is off and running. We were fortunate to get some capacity building funding last year to really help us strengthen the foundation. And now we're just moving toward solidifying funding so we can get the movement continuously moving and not have to worry about year after year trying to figure out what we're going to do. So that was a lot of what 2025 looked like when it comes to work. But, the personal life, there's so many uh, good things, some highs and lows. But the very high thing is I had my first granddaughter. And
Excellent.
so yeah, she's amazing. She just started eating food yesterday, solid food or, rice, and she's tearing it up. So, yeah, so that's a part of what 2025 looked like. And as we go into 2026, like there's nothing but high hopes and expectations, super high optimism for not just the work, but for our people, our communities, the things that we deal with, the social determinants of health. Those are, key elements of gang redevelopment. Can we address these social determinants of health? Can we align systems together? Can we get people on board to really see the value of who they are and really begin to help their identity grow, so they can go into new spaces and be the leaders in communities that were once wrecked by people just like them?
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I tell you, sounds like you wasn't too busy in 2025.
That was it, like 2025, if it just like, most people think it went fast.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was it was a blur. And just like we talked, we've been off the air for a year. And it wasn't intentional. Life happened, and we're going to get to your story here in a second and the things that the highs and lows of your year, but like to be here in 2026, we don't count any day not a blessing. And no matter how fast time is going, we need to honor each day. And I think that's something that you can speak to of honoring each day.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah. 2025 was definitely a year of ebbs and flows. I think more ebbs than flows. However, personally, however, a big deal to a bridge to light and just my partners that we partner is taking complex situations and making it into common language so people can understand it. I mean, it does us no good. It does us absolutely no good if we just are speaking in very heady academic language. How do we take that academic language or those theoretical frameworks and break them down so people can chew on them and recognize them and become experts at them themselves?
Right.
And that's where, a Bridge to Light in 2025, that's what we're looking at. And in the very beginning of 2025, Thomas and I, we looked at just a question. We looked at a question and asked, because he mentioned violence a lot. He mentioned gang violence and various forms of violence a little while ago, but we just asked the question, what is violence? What is violence? We find ourselves living in what we would call violent environments. We find ourselves sometimes perpetrators of violence. We find
Mm.
ourselves victims of violence. So, what is that? What is that? And when we think about violence, which is the watermark pretty much of everything that a Bridge to Light does, in which the pillars sit on, which is protection of womanhood, intentional mentorship, and chronic disease awareness. But we'll get into that in a little bit. But violence, we think about when we say the word violence, most of us will have a idea of an intentional use of force, of violence, punching, hitting, scratching against an individual, a group, or a community to injure them, to kill them, to psychologically impair them. And that's right. And that's right. But that's the yes and discussion.
Right.
And to a lesser degree, which is very invisible or discreet, is the maldevelopment and deprivation aspect of violence, in which we spoke about structural violence and or cultural violence. The structural
Mm.
violence, as Thomas alluded to, the social determinants of health, is because maybe you are a particular group or particular identity, or you live in a particular area. There's an inequitable distribution of resources. You don't have access to the same resources as somebody that live across the bridge or across a highway. And there's policies, laws, and so forth that you can't access. Last Saturday, we had a food distribution, and the closest food store or supermarket was about a mile from this very isolated housing project. But the food source was the Dollar General. It wasn't even a grocery market. It was a Dollar General. That was the closest place where this particular housing development that houses approximately 300 families. That's their closest uh, food distribution location. And they had KFC and McDonald's and other fast food restaurants about a mile and a half, 2 miles away. So a food desert is considered a very violent environment. Coupled with the stories we tell ourselves based on the direct violence and or structural violence in which we encounter, which it forms biases and stereotypes and so forth. So we've spent a lot of time. Bridge to Light spent a lot of time with helping people understand structural violence, cultural violence, and the manifestation of violence, just to understand the environment in which they live. But I had a wonderful opportunity as I spoke about the pillars: protection of womanhood, intentional mentorship, and chronic disease awareness. I had an opportunity to speak to a distinguished group of women in Korea, Black Women for Positive Change, on domestic violence. And I was their keynote speaker, where she spoke about intimate partner violence and gaslighting and other forms of violence. And it opened up a very, very spirited conversation, not only from the central time zone, not only from the eastern time zone, but we have folks from Africa, we have folks from the Pacific Islands, so it was actually truly an international event. A little bit more close in, we had a protection of womanhood panel discussion where we looked at the discussions as far as how women see things and how, again, the yes and discussion. Thomas and I may see an issue a particular way, but and the woman may see the same way, but she may have the yes and discussion as far as, yes, I see security a certain way. But and since I'm a woman, I have these considerations as well. So we looked at that. As well, and had that type of forum provided for the local community here in Dallas County. Also, we had an opportunity to work in Dominican Republic. Had an opportunity to bring the protection of womanhood focus to the Dominican Republic to a unique group of men to further facilitate. So we had a very international but local perspective when it came to the protection of womanhood and the British Lights responsibility to that. But I will say before we go any further, please like, share, comment on these topics so we could get better. Or you may have a question that Thomas or I can answer for you to make it more clear, to bring clarity and more clarity to the issue. So I will ask you to like, share, comment, and continue to follow us on our other platforms to further enable us to get this common language out to the people. Also, I'm just going to go another step, and then we give it back to Thomas. Our intentional mentorship efforts. What makes a Bridge Light not better, but different from a lot of profits focused on mentorship is not necessarily is our intentional focus on intentional mentorship, curriculum based mentorship. We want to see the transformation not only in the individual, but how do we measure through other organizations? How do we measure the transformation in the individual, in the community, in the group, and so forth? So we have a intentional mentorship model that we use. Again, not better than any other mentorship organization, but a little bit different. A little bit different. We're not going to just sit down and have pizza and just talk about when I was 16 years old. This is what I did. Yes, it may start off that way, but with the intention on speaking to, uh, moral leadership and dressing for success and proper relationships between men and women and so forth. Because far too often, social media, although it's a wonderful tool, could be a worse weapon. So how are we countering that message from social media with intentional mentorship to try to change behavior? So with that, Thomas, I'm going to turn it back over to you because I know you have some things to say. I don't want to monopolize the time, man.
Nah, it's all good. I just want to share with our audience that, as you can see, Dr. Lawrence and I, we have very similar perspectives on addressing violence in different ways. And so this whole platform, what we've established here between the two of us is a brotherhood. And in this brotherhood, we start to see different ways that we can help support people in the areas of violence and really begin to bring it to the forefront because a lot of times violence, as we talk about, it often looks like it's just physical or monetary or something like that. We forget the structural, we forget the simplicity that violence is all around. It's something that we see regularly. We just may not identify it as violence. And some of the things that Dr. Lawrence just talked about shares with that idea of violence. But when we think about violence within gangs, for example, we think about the violence that's perpetuated by gangs, but we forget the violence that happens to the gang member, to the family, to the infrastructure that they live within. And so we have to begin to set up these shows in a way that we can talk about the different types of violence and address it, not just talk, not just be people who can come here and identify and be talking heads and they need to do this and they need to do this. No, we actually get involved with what needs to happen in these communities. We want to see structure change. We want to see development within our people. But not only that, we want to see violence like come to a lower level.
Yeah.
Like we shouldn't have to continue to experience this violence. And if we start thinking about all the violence that's been perpetrated throughout the history of this country and beyond, all we're doing is pushing forward an agenda that doesn't serve any of our communities well. It doesn't serve our women well. It doesn't serve our youth well. It doesn't serve our elderly well. And then when we turn that into spaces where we wouldn't think violence happens, like healthcare. Violence happens all the time in healthcare. And so we're going to take the experience that we've learned through the Morehouse School of Medicine's MAGIC program, which is uh, Justice Evolved Care, and all the other experiences that we have, and we're going to wrap it into this space here and begin to talk freely about what it looks like to support our communities, to actively engage, and as Dr. Lawrence said, become a part of this community. Not only just watch the videos, comment, share things, your experiences with violence. Like, subscribe, share with others so we can hear their experiences, but also comment on things that you really like. And if there's any questions you have, these could be precursors to the next shows that we have so we can continue to give you good content, continue to share about our communities. We have a lot to share. There's a lot that we're going to go through. Some of the personal things, some of the highs and lows of life. But also, we're going to share with you the content of what we're doing in our communities. And so you'll be able to see some of the impact that we're making. 2025 was a year of building. 2025 was a year of taking each day seriously and moving forward so that we can see how we can impact our communities, how we can just share information that we empower each individual who watches this podcast also. So we thank you for that.
Yes, sir. Just speaking back to the intentional mentorship piece and the cultural violence, which speaks to biases, attitudes, stereotypes, just language that people classify or categorize a certain people because of their lack of or positive outcomes from the social determinants of health, lack of educational opportunities, lack of healthcare opportunities, lack of transportation. Although you may have the access, the opportunity to go to education, or the opportunity to have a job, or the opportunity to have these things, but if you don't have transportation, then it's just something that's out of your reach, and it becomes frustrating. So like I mentioned before, also social media is a wonderful tool. Like if you look at a hammer is just an object, which it could be used as a tool to put a nail in and hang up something beautiful, or it could be a weapon to bash somebody's brains in. So how are we utilizing the information coming out of the 24-hour news cycle, coming out of social media platforms, and coming out of entertainment to empower opposed to disempower and to marginalize already people of underserved communities. And a way we tried to do that with a Bridge of Light was we actually brought in a particular Dallas County juvenile detention facility. We actually taught them how to code and utilize computers, and they created websites and very positive websites. So when they re-enter the free, as we call it, they will have a skill. And the unique part about a Bridge of Light, again, not better than any other um, nonprofit, is that we meet you sometimes on the inside and stay with you and provide an opportunity to remain your mentor on the outside. Because life is hard enough when you're 45, 50,
Mm.
55 years old, but when you're 15 and you're reentering from a juvenile detention facility, it may be that much harder. So
Yeah.
how are we not reentering with the actual former resident, or how are we reentering with the parent as well? So we focus on again that information as far as providing them information to enable increased access to education, jobs, and healthcare. So I listen, please share, subscribe, comment. We want to hear your voice. We want to hear your voice so we can further tailor our programs and in some cases the way we do business on the ground, boots on the ground, to be a greater resource to the communities we serve. So Bridgelight has three pillars: protection, womanhood. I spoke to intentional mentorship. But we're going to, lastly, was chronic disease awareness. And before I get into chronic disease awareness, I'm going to turn it back over to Thomas, and I will conclude with my chronic disease awareness piece. But Thomas, if you have anything else to offer, the floor is yours.
So I just want to touch base on something you said. When it comes to the youth and people who are 45, 55, 65, when you're involved with the justice system or the criminal legal system, you start to think about these individuals and there's this expectation when you come out. I know when I came out from incarceration 25 years ago, the expectation was that I should know how to live.
Mm,
But going
mm.
into this situation, both times I went in, I really didn't know how to live. I was struggling. I was trying to survive. I had survival mode on 100. And and when you're always in survival mode, you're not in growth mode. You're in I got to get it done today mode, and you're not trying to figure out how to live. And the way you learn how to live is all you know at that point. But it's not all you have to know. And that's something that I continue to tell myself. This is all I know, but this is not all I have to know. And the mentorship that you're providing is helping people to understand this is not all you have to know. You can grow and have this growth phase. But one of the key elements of our work that we're doing, I'm doing when you're talking about you stay with people from incarceration and going out, is creating that system of support when a person comes out so they're not going into the old systems of support. Contrary to popular belief, the support systems that people are getting when they come out, that's love. That's the love that these people have experienced all their life. And when someone gives you a tool that can possibly put you back in prison, but they're giving it to you as love, such as something to help you get back on your feet, um, it's unfortunate that they're giving you the direct tools that puts you back in the same situations. So the key element of supporting people coming out of prison is to create new systems and structures or opportunities for them to have love shown in a different way. And I love that's what you talked about because, again, these young people, no matter how young, no matter how old you are, if you haven't learned how to live, you're just going to continue to live the way you've always known. And it's important that we disrupt these cycles because we have the key elements and structures and support that really provide help, not just kind of helping because we're encouraging you and giving you good words, but like you said, you're putting tangible resources behind it. You're learning computer technology, which no matter how much AI grows, technology is still a part of AI. It's still the things that we need to do, look into. And, when we look at technology growing, there's always security, cybersecurity. So that's tangible and that's something that can grow with how things are going. And speaking of I think it really helps them also understand the importance of utilizing AI in a responsible way so that they can create new opportunities for themselves in the future. So that's some good stuff that you're doing and how we both utilize these types of platforms and structures and systems and awareness so that we can help individuals who are impacted by the criminal legal system, who are being impacted by the social determinants of health, who have ACEs in their life, and so many other things to help overcome those things and live.
Well, I tell you, you said a lot right there, brother. You said a lot, man, and I appreciate you. Just your unique place in the universe and the unique sensitivity that you bring to our conversations, man. And one thing you mentioned tangible resources. The most tangible resource you could give anybody is your time.
Time.
Is your time. I mean, yes, money is important. I mean, I'm sure Brother Thomas Cotton and I will not. If you provide us a sizable donation, financial donation, we will not turn it down. As long as
Right.
it's moral, ethical, and lawful, we're not going to turn it down. But your time is so very important. And I'm speaking for Thomas' organization and my organization. If you have the time to commit to us with this mighty mission, this mighty humble mission, then we will thank you for it. The only way we thank you for it is just by saying thank you because your time is priceless. It's priceless, and just being grateful for your time. So I was talking about the last pillar the last pillar. And Thomas mentioned earlier that we were off the air for about a year. And it was kind of intentional because unfortunately, in February of 2025, uh, I was re-diagnosed with colon cancer, but not, prior to in 2021, I had stage 3C colon cancer, which, it had little chemo. I mean, I don't know what little chemo is, in a surgery, and I was about my way. But in February of last year, I was re-diagnosed with stage four colon cancer, where they saw some activity in my lymph nodes and they saw activity in my right lung, which more chemotherapy, more a balance of art and science with respect to the medical piece and just herbs and just fasting and so forth. And that was coupled with the open surgery, major surgery, cut my stomach open and removed all my lymph nodes, and then did a laparoscopic surgery through my back to cut into the lung, and deal with that. But as you can see, I'm still in fighting trim or getting there. My spirit is ultra high, but I would say with that, during that whole situation, a Light did not slow down. A Light, if anything, picked up the momentum to show people, regardless of the barriers that you may face, as long as you have breath, as long as you have will and the desire to do good, you can do good. And I'm kind of almost like kind of stealing Thomas Cotton's thunder because that alludes to his motto. But as long as you have the desire and will to do good, do it, no matter how small or large it is. And a Bridge Light had that will to do that for these unique communities that we served, and that's what we was facing with respect to the chronic disease awareness. And I actually demonstrated the so what to that. I showed the world my journey. I showed the world my journey, from having hair to no hair to in the hospital to going into surgery to showing that, yes, it's a pretty scary time, but we have to have courage. We have to have courage and face the enemy face to face, and nobody blinking, and by God's grace and mercy, I came out on top. So I thank all of you who took the journey with me, and that journey is recorded and categorized and on my Facebook and our annual newsletter, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But thank you all for taking that walk, and I thank all the warriors who fought the fight for 2025. I understand. I genuinely understand the the issues and the pressures and the ups and downs that come along with fighting such a unique fight when it's you against you, and you're
Mm.
dealing with that thing called cancer. So that's what we dealt with here, and as a result, hundreds of comments, hundreds of questions, hundreds of letters of encouragement poured into my inboxes from people from around the world. Just seeing my struggle, and we're encouraged by it. So and I thank my brother Thomas Cotton for just being a sounding board when I just had some uncertainty and doubt in myself. So thank you for being there, brother. I appreciate it. So yeah, man.
You are an inspiration, and that's all I gotta say. You shared your journey, the uncertainty of your journey, and the word you use is courage. You stay strong in the midst of it, and that's just a testament to your life and your focus because even in the midst of your challenges, you're still blessing other people. You're still thinking about my day and my purpose and how, your first bout led you to this purpose and how the second bout wasn't going to disrupt that purpose. And
Right.
so,
That's right.
such an encouragement and inspiration. And for those who are fighting in this fight against cancer, stay encouraged, stay moving forward, and stay hopeful. stay in the fight, even though the fear is there, be courageous in it. Dr. Lawrence is definitely an example and an inspiration, should be to many. I know he is to me, and he's the reason why I got to show you this. It's right here on my desk. This is my kit for colon checking, and yeah, they send these kits out. Last year you got me into this, and this is just my annual one. It comes automatically every year now,
Wow.
for me to do this. And if they find anything in this kit that I need to get checked even further, they'll set me up an appointment. But bottom line is, we have to stay on top of this. There's a reason why it affects our communities a lot. There's a reason why um, we just have to stay on top of it, be healthy, and not just wait for, something to go wrong before you start to be proactive in it. It's too late to be proactive, I should say. So yeah, thank you, sir.
Well, thank you, Thomas. And that's the biggest thank you that you can give me is listen, I'm hearing and obeying. I'm moving out. We treat our cars better than we treat ourselves.
Right,
So how do we kind of, move it up a little bit? You're still gonna treat our car better, but how do we treat ourselves even better so we can live, so we can be here? And
for sure.
so I thank you for everything that you've done, in your community and to inspire us here at A Bridge to Light. Now, as we peek into next year, now we peek into next year. First, I will encourage everybody to take a look at our newsletter, our annual newsletter from 2025. It's only 6 pages long. We have AI incorporated. We have videos incorporated in it. We have just to kind of bring the just the magnitude of what we've done in communities, namely Dallas County, uh, to life for you there. And in 2025, we're going to continue to do what we've been doing, but I'm starting to write articles now. I'm going to start writing articles just to, again, make it more user friendly, the language, so our people can read it. And our people are not necessarily just black and brown people, but it's people who are from underserved communities, poor people, people who don't have access. And I mean poor, people just that lack the access to dot dot dot. That's poor
Right.
people. If you have a challenged access to this that everybody else has access to that, then you're a poor person. And we are here to close that gap. I just right now I'm just involved with black and brown people right now because of just my physical proximity to black and brown people happens to be greater than I have to other nationalities. But
Yeah.
I am not just here. I'm here to further facilitate access of all good people to get access to human needs and the resources they need to live comfortable lives.
100%. And the newsletter is fire, y'all. Check it out. It's fire. I'm not gonna spoil it. You just get the link, check it out. The link will be in the comment, so you all can get it from there. You can like and follow our personal pages also.
Light, and our website will pop up, our YouTube page will pop up, Instagram, TikTok. We're doing really well as far as Google analytics. Well, it was not too many A Bridge to Light organization, abridgetolight.org. Uh, Come and check us out. Come and check us out. And as I always say, it takes a network of progression to defeat a network of oppression. So let's learn together. Let's make the net work.
And for us, we're redeveloping our site, and our website is redeem-advance.org. Redeem-advance.org. You can look up redemption and advancement and find it, but you can also look up the New G movement and start to see information as it's starting to grow. The New G mentality is available on Amazon right now, and we're looking to place it in other places. Stay tuned. Within the next couple of weeks, you'll have the audio version that's available. So you have 3 different methods that you can get this book. So we're excited about it, but we are moving forward with partnerships with the different cities we are putting our uh, presence in, and so we're excited about that. But as I always like to say, as long as the person has a heartbeat, there's an opportunity for redemption. So we thank you all
Absolutely.
for joining us.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? Just on that note, I know we wanted to stop, but blog, we want to hear your voice. Blog on our
Hmm.
distinct platforms. Donate, donate your time, donate your money, volunteer your time. We're looking for that. And also expanded partnerships. Expanded partnerships.
For
Thomas
sure.
and I, we want to canvas the United States. We want to canvas the United States, every major city and every little town. We want them to know about our organization and the value it brings to each community.